Good morning, I'm Mike Lowitzer with WBAA News. We should know shortly the Lieutenant Governor nominee for the Republican Party. Gubernatorial candidate Mike Pence will make his choice for a running mate known this. Those reportedly being considered are current Lieutenant Governor Becky Skillman, State Representative Sue Ellspermann, and Valparaiso Mayor.
WBAA, the voice of Purdue, West Lafayette, Indiana.
The big rush to get into radio broadcasting was in the early 20s.
The AM started as a broadcast experiment.
About 1917 and 18, there was experimentation being done by electrical engineering faculty and students, and that's where originally the station grew out of. The station was licensed in 1922, and WBAA was the first station to get a four-letter call sign.
WBAA, the voice of Purdue.
WBAA, the voice of Purdue, West Lafayette.
WBAA, the voice of Purdue, West Lafayette, Indiana.
WBAA for several years was on the air Monday and Friday nights for about a half an hour, if that long. The programming was anybody they could drag out of the hallway. Playing the piano, giving a talk. They didn't have recordings yet. They were starting to use phonograph records, but there was no way to make a recording at the radio station. But eventually they began to do more local programming.
George Enfield, Purdue University Extension agronomist, was going to give us some ideas on selecting fertilizer for the spring crops.
They'd started doing sports, basketball and football especially. Eventually they began to use more recordings and got equipment so they could make recordings. From the beginning, a lot of what was done by students. They built the transmitter, they built a lot of the equipment. They didn't buy it in the initial days of the station. Then as the station grew and began to add professional staff, there was always room for students, and still to this day.
At WBAA, we depend heavily on students to run the day-to-day operations. They are board operators, they read the newscasts, they make sure programs get on the air.
It's a really fun job, it's an exciting job. You just learn so much from it that's valuable, experience that you can take with you, as you move forward in whatever career you might pursue after your college experience.
It's nice to be involved with a facility that had so many really bright students.
Chris Schenkel is probably the best known one, who hosted ABC Wide World of Sports for many, many years.
Well, WBAA, of course, is a non-commercial and always was. They started doing instructional programming in the 40s, the School of the Air. They were simply classes broadcast by radio. And you could stay at home and get study materials and take the course by radio.
It's radio time with the Purdue University School of the Air. And today it's time for Your Indiana.
A lot of what the School of the Air did was reach elementary and high schools across the state who couldn't offer, say, Spanish or music courses because they didn't have the staff to do that. Well, they could do that by radio.
Eventually we had a lot of college credit courses that dealt with everything from psychology and history, and we even had a course in learning Russian.
The School of the Air actually ran into the 1960s before it ended. The programming developed into some of the volunteers that had programming. Of course, when NPR came along, they would be able to do more news programming.
Stay with Public Radio. National Public Radio.
We're an NPR affiliate, which means we use NPR programming for the most part. We do get some other sources for our programs. We do local news.
We really strive to be a part of the community. We really strive to have the community's messages come over our airways.
We've always been a part of the university that is devoted to service.
It's really an essential part of what we do at WBAA, to be part of the community, to foster these relationships, to make this community, which is a wonderful place, be even better.
Since I've started working here, I've started to realize how much the community does and how much there is to do, and that's exciting, and that's something that this station is really good at doing, is keeping people informed.
Elliott Hall was constructed in about 1939 and 1940, and the space was allocated to the radio station from the day they constructed Elliott Hall.
The station, which was probably state-of-the-art back in the 1940s, by 2001 was a little bit long in the tooth.
To tear all of that down and then build anew was quite an exciting time as well as kind of a troubling time when you think about all the alumni that were going to come back and their radio station wasn't here anymore, except it is.
Here at WBAA, we've got a really nice facility, new consoles, lovely studios.
It's a modern, state-of-the-art facility, all digital operation, has been now for over 10 years. In 1993, we added an FM service.
You're listening to Morning Classics on 101.3 WBAA FM.
Class of 1942 in 1992 made their 50th anniversary gift to be the WBAA FM, so there would be an FM signal providing classical music to the community, and that went on the air in 1993 to great fanfare.
The station's been streaming since the early 2000s. Within the last year, we've added apps for iPhone, iPad, and Android.
I've been here and guided the station through tubes to transistors to the current day. It's been a remarkable journey.
WBAA is made up of the people that have been here for all these years. Doesn't matter whether you were here for 2 years or you were here for decades. It's the people that make WBAA go.
It's gratifying to be part of such what started just as a radio experiment and has turned into 3 wonderful signals that cover all of Tippecanoe County and on our AM station 2/3 of the state of Indiana. It's really gratifying for me.